Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Rachel David White, coming to you live from Uzor, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. PDP FG unveils Federal Public Service Entrepreneurship Program Plus. Russia rocket attack damaged kindergarten and school in KRAMATORSK. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in a moment. First, in the news this afternoon, the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party has appointed Omar Damagum to oversee the affairs of the party in acting capacity. National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Debo Ologunagba, announced this at a press conference today at the party's secretariat. Damagum as the national chairman of the party. Meanwhile, Chief Whip of the Senate and Senator representing Abia North Orji Uzor Kalu today met with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa, where he intimated him of his ambition to become Senate President in the 10th Assembly. He, however, revealed that the President did not give him an automatic endorsement, but exhibited a favorable disposition to his ambition to become the President of the Senate. Kalu also said he would not want to rock the boat if there is vested interest in the leadership of the Senate, but would not be adverse to accept the position if it is himself. Recall that Kalu had jolted Nigerians when he recently declared that it was his turn to become Senate President shortly after he got re-elected from his constituency. He said he was optimistic that when elected to preside over the Senate, he would promote peace among its rank and file. In a related development, South-South Solidarity Group has claimed that among the entire geopolitical zones of the country, the region remains very marginalized. Coordinator of the group, Ikben Ilefa, in an interview in Calabar, maintained that since the Second Republic of President Shehu Shagari, the zone which had late Joseph Boyas as Senate President has not occupied that position anymore. The group has now asked authorities to zone the Senate presidency to the South-South in the next dispensation in the interest of equity. Away from that, President Muhammadu Buhari today said Nigeria would experience effective governance under the administration of the President-elect Bola Tinubu. He noted that Tinubu had the political pedigree and experience to achieve this by May 29th, when he would take over the leadership of a country. The president said this in a statement issued today by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina. According to him, his political pedigree from the 90s, active role in party politics, being elected senator and later governor of Lagos State, and diligent involvement in the structure of leadership at the executive and legislative levels for many years will serve as asset for good and effective governance. Meanwhile, President Buhari is set to flag off the third oil field in northern Nigeria. This was contained in a public announcement by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The oil field is located in Ebeni at the headquarters of Obi local government area of Nasarawa State. According to reports, It is the second oil field in the North Central region. The first was the Ibaji oil field in Kogi State. In the history of Nigeria's exploration, the Benyi oil field is the third in northern Nigeria. The first was Kolomani, located in the Bauchi and Gombe axis. Away from that, the federal government has launched the Federal Public Service Entrepreneurship Program, FPSEP, to prepare workers for life after retirement in Abuja. The head of civil service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemiasan, said her dream was for the emergence of a skillful and more productive workforce that would contribute meaningfully to the development of a country as employees as well as employers of labor within the provisions of extant rules. Esan, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Service Welfare Office, Ngozi Omodiwe, tasked civil servants to plug the knowledge garnered from the training at FPSEP into agriculture and other business ventures that would enable them to create for self-sustenance while in service and after exiting the service. According to her, the Public Service Entrepreneurship Program attention to the welfare of the public servants who constituted the administrative machinery for implementing government policies and programs. To legislative matters now, where House of Representatives has asked the federal government to immortalize late elder statesman, late General Oladipo Dia. The House made the resolution today following a motion from the member representing Ijebu-Ode, Odobolu, Ijebu North-East Federal Constituency, Kolapo Oshunshaya. The lower chamber held that a moment of silence in his honor and stated that a delegation would be sent to visit the family in Lagos. Dia's death was announced in a statement by his son, Prince Oyeshimilola Dia, on Sunday morning. The late general, who was the chief of staff under the late head of state, General Sani Abacha, died barely a week before he turned 79. Born on April 3, 1944 at Odogbolu in Ogun State, he joined the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, and fought during the Nigerian Civil War. Dia was appointed Chief of General Staff (CGS) in 1993 and Vice Chairman of the Provisional Ruling Council in 1994. He was second in command and the de facto Vice President of Nigeria under Abacha from 1994 as the CGS. Still from the Green Chamber, House of Representatives will on April 11, 2023 grill ministers and other heads of ministries, departments and agencies of the federal government, as well as oil companies and banks over the alleged illegal sale of 48 million barrels of crude oil valued at $2.4 billion. The committee, in a notice to the invitees, also demanded memoranda for whistleblowers whose alarm had led to the recovery of public funds from corrupt individuals and organizations. The committee invited 100 individuals, organizations and groups, including the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited Group Chief Executive Officer NNPCL, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Attorney General of the Federation, Director of Public Prosecutors of the Federation, Central Bank of Nigeria, Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Petroleum Commission, Chief Executive, NUPRC, former Chairman, Presidential Committee on Recovery of Missing Crude Oil, former Director General, DSS Lawal Musa Daura, Department of State Services, Nigeria Police Force, Interpol, National Central Bureau, Nigeria, among others. Meanwhile, the chairman of the committee, Mark Bila, disclosed that the panel had not been officially inaugurated as Speaker of the House. Femi Gbajabiamila was unavoidably absent to declare the hearing open, adding that the inauguration of the committee will hold on April 11th. Away from that, barely 24 hours to the deadline given by the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) for the federal government to end the currency and petrol scarcity in the country, the leadership of the Labour movement has summoned a meeting of its National Executive Committee today to assess the situation and decide whether to proceed with the national protest or not. Reports say the NLC intends to brief the media and members of the public on plans for the picketing of CBN offices nationwide, scheduled to begin on Wednesday. According to reports, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, and the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Governor Godwin Emefiele, at a meeting held at the conference room of the Labour Ministry, explained to the Labour leaders that efforts have been made to alleviate the currency scarcity across the country. Recall that the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, had met yesterday with the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele to avert the impending nationwide protest by the workers. In another development, the National Population Commission has said it had put up measures to guard against all forms of malpractices ahead of the forthcoming population and housing census. The Commission also stressed that citizens living away from their state of origin do not need to travel to home for the purpose of the exercise. It said people would be enumerated at their place of residence. The spokesperson for the Commission, Ishaka Yahaya, said this in an interview with newsmen. Yahaya added that the Commission had not finished the recruitment process for enumerations. On electoral matters, the Nigerian Police Force has said it recorded a total of 489 major electoral infractions during the February 25th presidential and March 18th governorship polls. The Inspector General of Police, Osman Alkali Baba, made this disclosure during the meeting with senior police officers at the Goodluck Jonathan Peacekeeping Center, Force Headquarters, Abuja. At the meeting were Deputy Inspectors General of Police, Assistant Inspectors General of Police, Commissioners of Police, and other members of the force management team. While noting that the culprit will be prosecuted, Baba said the police force will effectively collaborate with the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission in ensuring that all the electoral offenders are expeditiously and transparently prosecuted, not only in the interest of criminal justice delivery, but in furtherance of their vision to sanitize the nation's democratic space.
Nobody, regardless of political persuasion, background, or influence, should place his or her personal interests above national interests. Accordingly, while admonishing all political actors and their followers to submit to democratic norms, peaceful means, and legal procedure in advancing their interests or seeking redress for their political concerns, I must firmly warn that the Nigeria Police and other security agencies shall not tolerate the resort to incitement or any act designed to threaten our national security. They are therefore advised in the strongest possible terms to henceforth draw back on current attempts to engender tension within the national security space to avoid attracting appropriate law enforcement response. In regard to this, feedbacks so far received across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT indicates that a total of 489 major electoral infractions leading to the arrest of a total of 781 offenders were recorded nationally.
Away from that, the former United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said that the bandits and terrorists in Nigeria will be defeated. Johnson made the statement at the 16th session of the Emmanuel Sigwe lecture series, which held in Lagos. The former Prime Minister, who was the guest speaker for the session, stated that for a country to function properly and unleash its potential, no one must be seen to be above the law, adding that Nigeria is in need of freedom, security, tolerance to achieve urban success delivery, equality, and unleash its potential. Africa now, where U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, while in Ghana at the start of her three-nation tour of Africa, has announced $100 million to support the fight against Islamist militants in West Africa. Harris said that her visit to Ghana was not because of China's influence in Africa, but rather to strengthen bilateral ties with its partners. According to reports, the coastal countries of Ghana, Benin, Ivory Coast, and Togo are to benefit from the package. Recall that the region has been facing security threats from the ever-advancing jihadists operating in the Sahel. Still in Africa, Chadian President MAHAMAT Idris has pardoned 259 people out of the 262 jailed in December during deadly confrontations between police and protesters in the capital, N'Djamena. Reports say they had been convicted for offenses including unauthorized assembly, destruction of property, arson, violence, and assault during the clashes in which 73 people died. Meanwhile, the presidential pardon comes days after 380 rebels sentenced to life imprisonment for the death of former ruler Idris Deby, the current president's father, received the peace gesture. The late Idris Deby, who ruled the country for 30 years, died during an operation against rebels in 2021. In the city of Kramatorsk in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region. In a Telegram post, Kramatorsk City Council said no casualties were reported, but 6 houses and a non-residential building were also damaged. The attack came after Russian missile strikes on nearby Sloviansk, which killed at least 2 people. Meanwhile, Pavlo Krylenko, the head of the Donetsk Regional Military Administration, said the number of people injured in the Sloviansk is 26. Still on the foreign scene, German Defense Ministry says the first shipment of Leopard 2 tanks from Germany has been sent to Ukraine. Reports say 18 cutting-edge main battle tanks were delivered after Ukrainian crews were trained to use them. Also, Ukraine Challenger 2 tanks from the UK have also arrived. Meanwhile, Germany's Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said he was sure the tank could make a decisive contribution on the front lines of the war. Recall that Ukraine has been calling for more modern vehicle and weapon systems for months to help fight Russia's invasion. Still to come in the news. Saka to become Arsenal's highest paid player, 9th in EPL. Just stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. On our business news, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Nii Adebayo, has said that efforts to address identified lapses in the existing Bankruptcy Act would commence with a national conference on bankruptcy and debt collection in May. Adebayo made this statement at the third Trade Negotiation Skills (TNS) simulation course, which was organized by the Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiations (NOTN) in collaboration with the Overseas Development Institute (ODI) and the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office (FCDO) of the United Kingdom. The minister pointed out the move, which was in line with the Trade Policy Action Plan 2022 to 2026 of the federal government. It would help to develop an institutional and regulatory framework to regulate business behavior and ensure that only viable concerns continue to operate, adding that the new framework would also include the establishment of debt collection offices in the 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory (FCT). He noted that the part of the objectives was to contribute to the creation of a modern 21st century credit economy for the benefit of producers. Work had been concluded on the Nigerian template for Free Trade Agreement (FTAs) and Mutual Recognition Agreement (MRAS) for standards and professional qualifications. Still in business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPC) says it has released 418 million liters of petrol between March 18th and 24th. According to new data from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority (NMDPRA), 59 million liters of the product were evacuated of Delhi, even as year-to-date Delhi average remained at 64.94 million liters during the period. However, the data indicates that between March 4th and 24th, a total of 1.46 billion liters of the petrol were evacuated to states, and the top receiving state during the period were Lagos, where 1,957 trucks were dispatched, the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) with 550 truckloads, while Delta received 508 trucks of the product. In health, Nigeria is set to tackle diphtheria with €150,000 gift from the European Union. In a statement issued by the delegation of the European Union to Nigeria and the Economic Community of West African States, the allocation was in response to the significant increase in diphtheria cases recorded since the beginning of the 2023 in Nigeria. Reports say the humanitarian fund will assist the most affected communities, Kano, Katsina, Lagos, and Osun State. Recall that on January 20, 2023, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention officially declared an outbreak of diphtheria in Kano and Lagos State after several suspected cases appeared a month earlier. Still in health, Bauchi State has reportedly recorded 7,806 cases of tuberculosis in 2022. The Executive Secretary, Bauchi State Agency for the Control of HIV and AIDS, Tuberculosis, Leprosy and Malaria, Sani Mohammed, said this at a news conference in Bauchi. Mohammed, who was represented by the Commissioner for Health, Sabiu Gwalabe, at the news conference stated that the figure was an increase of 2,154 over the 5,652 recorded in 2021. Adding that the state government, in collaboration with implementing partners such as Breakthrough Action Nigeria, was conducting active case findings across Bauchi State. He, however, noted that the 2023 World Tuberculosis Day would be celebrated with a series of phone-in, television, and radio programs to increase awareness. In sports, Nigeria's senior women's cricket team, the female Yellow Greens, will hope to make it 2 wins in a row when they take on debutants Cameroon in their second game of the NCF T201 tournament in Lagos today. The female Yellow-Greens began their campaign with a 6-wicket win over Sierra Leone in the opening game of the tournament yesterday. Sierra Leone won the toss and chose to bat first. However, they could only manage 65 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in 19 overs, leaving Nigeria to do the bare minimum to win the game. Nigeria initially struggled with the batting in the second innings and still posted 67 runs with the loss of 3 wickets in 14 overs. Meanwhile, Nigeria's coach Leke Oyede said he is impressed by the turnaround and is confident that his team will improve every game in the tournament. Still in sport, Arsenal player Bukayo Saka is set to sign a new long-term contract with the football club. While his present contract was due to expire in the summer of 2024, it is hopeful the winger extend it to 2028 with the deal. He is expected to earn 4 times his current salary and become the Ghana's highest paid player. Reports released Saka, who earns a weekly wage of £70,000 per week, is one of the verge of signing a contract worth a cool £300,000 per week. On entertainment news, Nigerian international music stars Wizkid and Tems have both won an award at the 2023 iHeartRadio Awards. Reports say the duo who delivered the international hit Essence shared the Best Afrobeat Artist Award, defeating other Afrobeat stars like CK, Fireboy and Burna Boy to take home the award. Tems, who is said to have won the Best Hip-Hop Song for her contributions to Future's Wait For You, was also nominated for Best R&B Song for her hit single Free Mind. Meanwhile, the 2023 iHeartRadio Awards was held at the Dolby Theatre in Los Angeles, California, and it was hosted by Lenny Kravitz. Still on entertainment news, Benin's singer Angelique Kidjo is said to have won the 2023 Polar Music Prize, along with Britain's Chris Blackwell, founder of Islands Records, and Estonian composer Arvo Pärt. According to the organizers of the Sweden's Polar Music Prize, Kidjo, who sings in native Fon and Yoruba language, as well as in French and English, is one of the greatest singer and songwriter in international music. The music award organizers said that the laureates will receive the 600,000 krona $58,000 prize at a ceremony in Stockholm on May 23rd. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Rachel David White. Good afternoon.